Hi, this is Mrs. Clark, and welcome to my video on solving systems by elimination. And in these examples, there will be one equation that we must multiply. So we have to, it says must multiply 1. So we'll have one equation that needs to get multiplied in order for us to eliminate a variable. So first of all, let's go over our acronym SNOWS. SNOWS stands for same number, opposite sign. So that's the first thing that we look at when we go to look at our system. They're both in standard form. The equations, the x's and y's, equals, and numbers are all lined up. So we're looking to see if any of the coefficients are the same number in opposite sign. So for x's, we have 4 and 6, not the same number, so I'm going to skip to the y's. 4 and 2, not the same number. So neither of them have same number opposite signs. These two have opposite signs, but the numbers are not even close. And these two have the same sign, but the numbers are also not the same. So what we need to do is we need to come up with something that I can multiply everything in one of the equations by, all three terms, that will allow it to have SNOWS with the other equation. So usually what I do is I try to think of which coefficient will, if I multiply it by something, be the same number as the other one. So if I look at 6 and 4, I can't multiply 4 by anything to get 6 or 6 by anything to get 4. But when I look at the y's, I know that if I do 2 times 2, I'm going to get 4. And I want them to have the same number, so that's a good place to start. I want to multiply this by 2 so that it has the same number as this. We get 4 and 4. But I also want them to have opposite signs. That's what the O's part is here. So in order to do that, I can't just multiply this by a 2. I have to multiply it by a negative 2. So let me show you how to do that. First thing we're going to do is rewrite the first equation. Negative 4x plus 4y equals 20. The second equation is going to get multiplied by 2, but not just a regular 2 because I don't want it to be a 4y, just like this one. I want it to be a negative 4. So I have to multiply by negative 2. So that means I have to multiply this negative 6x times a negative 2, and I have to multiply this 2y times a negative 2, and I have to multiply this negative 30 times a negative 2. So everything in the equation gets multiplied by negative 2. So when I do that, I'm going to rewrite it underneath. First, negative 2 times 6 is negative 12, so this becomes a negative 12x. Negative 2 times 2y is going to become negative 4y, so I'm going to put minus 4y, and that gives us our SNOWS right here. 4y and negative 4y equals negative 30 times negative 2 is positive 60. So now that I have SNOWS here, same number, opposite signs, those y's are going to cancel out. So I'm going to go ahead and do my addition. Negative 4 plus negative 12 is negative 16x. Positive 4y minus plus negative 4y is going to cancel out. So I'm going to eliminate the y's. Equals 20 plus 60, which is 80. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 16. We're getting good at this part, and we're getting to go faster. And x is going to equal, let me pull up my calculator, 80 divided by negative 16, and we get negative 5. So x equals negative 5. So it's the same thing from here. I started my solution, negative 5 comma something. That's my x. Now I need to find my y. And so I'm going to substitute into one of the equations. I can use this room here if it's enough for me, or I can write out here. I've got all this room where I can do my work. I can pick either equation, but I'm going to go back to the original equation and choose one of them to substitute in for x. I'm going to choose this second one because I don't like the negative sign in front here. I'm afraid I'm going to mess up. So I'm going to do 6x plus 2y equals negative 30. I'm going to use that second equation. I could do either one. It shouldn't matter as long as I do it correctly. So now I'm going to substitute in for x the negative 5 in a parentheses. So I've got 6 parentheses negative 5 plus 2y equals negative 30. Being very, very careful to make sure I always include my negative signs and don't make a mistake there, because once I make a mistake with a negative, it's going to carry over throughout the whole problem. So now I multiply. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30 plus 2y equals negative 30. I'm going to add 30 on both sides to get this 2y by itself. 2y equals, these cancel out and these cancel out, so 2y equals 0. So I'm going to keep going and divide both sides by 2, but I know that 0 divided by anything is going to be 0. So y equals 0. So our ordered pair is -5, 0 for our solution. Now we'll go ahead and do the next one, and then maybe you can pause the video and try the other ones on this page on your own. Okay, so again, we're looking for snows, and if I look here, I've got 5x and 1x. I'm going to stick a 1 in front of this one. So different numbers. And over here, 10 and 5, also different numbers. But I want to multiply one of the equations by something to make them the same number, opposite sign. So here, I could multiply by 5, and then these would have the same number. I could multiply by -5, and that would make this one a -5x. But I also have a choice here. I could multiply by 2, and this would become 10. And this is already a -10, so I could do that, and then the y's would cancel out. So I get a choice here. Since last time the y's canceled out, I'm going to choose to multiply the x. But I could do either one. If you do one and I do the other, as long as we both do it accurately, we'll get the same solution. So if I want to multiply this first x, so it's at the same number, I need to multiply it by a 5, but I need to have it an opposite sign, so I'm going to do -5. So I'm going to multiply everything in that second equation by -5. So let me rewrite those. I've got 5x minus 10y equals -15. And then when I multiply the second one, I'm going to get -5x minus 25y equals -55. Carefully bringing along all my negatives. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my addition. So when I add straight down, these x's cancel out, become 0x. I'm not going to write the 0x, I'm just going to cross them out and eliminate them. -10 plus -25 is going to be -35y equals -15 plus -55, which is going to be -70. Now it's a super simple equation. I'm going to divide by -35 on both sides. I'm going to get y is equal to +2. I'm going to go ahead and substitute that back in. Maybe I'll use the second equation again. X plus 5y equals 11. I don't know x, but I know that 5 times y, which is 2, has to equal 11. So substituting my answer there. And then x plus 5 times 2 is 10. X plus 10 equals 11. So subtract my 10 from both sides, and x equals 1. So my solution for this one is 1, 2. Now I'm going to show you quickly how I do it the other way. How do I eliminate the y's and get the same answer?
If you're all set, you can fast forward through this to the next problem and try it on your own. So here, if I want to multiply the top equation, maybe write it for a second, instead of the bottom equation, so that the y's eliminate, I'm going to need to look at my coefficients. I've got -10 and I've got 5. I want to make this into a +10, so I'm going to multiply the bottom equation. Well, this is still multiplying the same equation, but I'm going to multiply it by 2 instead. And what that's going to help me with is I'm going to have 5x minus 10y equals -15. But for the second equation, I'm going to get 2x plus 10y equals 22. So when I go to do my addition here, I'm going to get 7x. -10y and +10y are going to cancel out or eliminate. And -15 plus 22 is going to be 7. So to divide by 7 on both sides, that's going to give me x equals 1, which is the same answer I got here for x. Now I'm going to substitute that back in to the original equation. So 5x minus 10y equals -15. I'm going to put the 1 in here. 5 times 1 minus 10y equals -15. 5 times 1 is 5 minus 10y equals -15. Now I get the y by itself. I get rid of this 5. It's a +5, so I'm going to subtract 5. So I'm going to get -10y equals -20. I'm going to divide by -10, get the y by itself. Y is going to equal +2. And I'm going to get the same solution, 1, 2.
You don't have to do it both ways, but I wanted to show you that no matter which way I do it, I get 1, 2. So there's 4 more examples on the page. I can go through them pretty quickly, but why don't you pause the video now and try to see if you can at least figure out what you're going to multiply by, if not carry yourself all the way through the rest of the problem, and then check back in for your answers.